unpopular opinion, but winter might be the best reading season. Okay, actually, I think it's fall, but winter is a close second. I just think this is the best time of year to have the excuse to stay inside. You don't want to go outside where it's cold. So it's the best excuse to stay inside with your books, with a warm blanket and hot chocolate. So who wouldn't like that? And if you want to do that too, here are some books to add to your winter TBR list. Okay, I do have to preface that not all of these are necessarily set in winter, but they do either have like that cozy atmospheric vibe, or they might be kind of a chillier vibe. So those are kind of the two scales that we're weighing whether or not something is a wintry book, although some of them are explicitly winter settings. So I just wanted to make that clear. But let's dive in. Okay, the first book I'm going to talk about is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I absolutely love this one. It's one of my favorite books I've read in the past few years, and I would really like to get the physical copy. I'm debating whether I'm going to get like the special edition or the regular, although I kind of prefer the regular cover versus the special edition, so I might just do that. This follows our main character, Elspeth, and she essentially gets infected, is how they describe it in the book, infected with this magic that leaves her with this shadow voice in her head that she calls the nightmare. And then separately from that, there is these Providence cards, and the Providence cards are kind of like tarot cards in a way, but they are like, each card has a separate meaning and symbol associated with it. For instance, there's a mating card. I think the symbol is like a rose, and if you have the mating card, you are beautiful, like everybody loves you, you're like altered. But with the Providence cards, magic comes at a price, and so there is some kind of exchange when you use the cards. For instance, with the maiden card, you may look beautiful and everyone loves you, but you start to kind of lose bits of your personality and who you are in exchange for that beauty. So I just love that magic system. I think it's so cool and so unique, and I just like haven't seen anything like that before. So essentially, Elspeth has to team up with the captain of the guard in this to collect all 12 Providence cards in order to cure the land of the magic that is infecting it, essentially. And I just love that. I think it's so cool, and the setting is amazing. It is just eerie. The whole book just feels like it's cloaked in fog and cloaked in like a mist, and it is beautiful. I absolutely love it. It is, I don't think I said this, it's set in like not a real place obviously, but it's kind of like medieval-esque. There's like kings and stuff, so I just love this setting. I think it's so cool, and I think it is the perfect book to cozy up with and get lost in. Okay, sorry, we had to move the camera a little bit, so hopefully this is fine. But okay, next book we have is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, and this is such a cute book. I think I wrote in my Goodreads review that it was silly, and is it silly? Maybe, but what it actually is incredibly whimsical. This just gives like Alice in Wonderland, like fantastical, like kind of almost like princessy vibes, but like not exactly. But this is about our main character, Evangeline. I always mess that name up. Sorry. It's a beautiful name. It's kind of hard to say. But so she is, believes in true love, and she thinks that she has her true love, and then he gets married to somebody else. And to try to stop this wedding, she goes to the Prince of Hearts and tries to make a bargain to stop the wedding, and essentially things do not go as planned. And then she gets kind of whisked away into a maybe magical world, and it is so beautiful. The imagery is just amazing. I was literally just thinking of like Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland the entire time. It's so fantastical. There's like this, the setting is like gorgeous. Like the castle or the palace or wherever, and she like has to take a boat somewhere, and like the boat ride in, like describing the town, and like there's like a cute little like bakery shop I think she goes to like when she first gets there, and it's just all so cute and cozy. And I think that that's why this is the perfect wintry book. I do think there's a snow scene, which makes it a wintry book. Granted, that might be in the second book, but I'm not too sure. I can't remember. But either way, it's just so perfectly cozy and something that you can like read probably in one sitting while drinking some hot chocolate. So I love this one, and I highly recommend. So the next one I have is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, which I do have a physical copy of, but not here. So you'll just have to believe me. I absolutely adore Leigh Bardugo. I think she is an amazing writer, especially at like building these worlds and building like magic systems. This is honestly not even my favorite series from her, but I do feel like there's a certain winter setting and vibe to this. I think because a lot of it I think is Eastern European folklore like background, like I think like Russian maybe, and that just makes me think of winter. And there's some other elements as well that come in, I think a little bit more in the second book, but still the atmosphere is right. And so I'll tell you what this is about. This is about Alina, who is a map maker, and she kind of thinks that she just lives like this ordinary life and that she is not very significant, but then realizes one day that she is a dormant power that is actually incredibly important. And she is whisked away to the palace, the capital of this country, Ravka, where she's from. And she is being trained as a Grisha, which are these people who have magical abilities, to try to help her war-torn country. And it's just such a cool magical system. The Grisha all have different kind of magical skills that they are like they focus on, which kind of reminds me of like Tinkerbell. You know how like Tinkerbell is a Tinker Fairy and there's like the water fairies. You get what I'm saying. But it's like really cool like to see the different types. I just love that. I love seeing how authors imagine their magical world. And so this one is just really good. I think if you want to read something with like feels like there's kind of this interesting culture behind it, this is a great one. And it's not like super, I don't think it's like a super high fantasy book. So if you don't want something where you're like gonna be confused the whole time, I also think this is a great recommendation. Okay, next I also have this one physically, and it is The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which I'm sure most of you have either heard of or have already read, but I had to recommend this. It's just like the classic dark academia. So this is about students at a New England college who are, their focus is on Greek philosophy, I believe. And they're kind of become obsessed with their studies and maybe take it too far. And then one day, one of their classmates is found dead. This one, I think, has great winter imagery. There's definitely certain scenes where I feel like the ice and the chill and the snow are literally seeping into my bones when I read this. And maybe you don't like that if you're like not into the cold weather. I didn't think I was either, but I think reading about it gives all the vibes without the actual painfulness of the cold. So I love that part of the book. I also really love them talking about the Greek philosophy. I thought that was like really interesting. And there's like certain scenes where they kind of act out some of the stuff that happened and what they talk about in their classes. But it was just really cool. The characters are really interesting. They're not likable and they're not supposed to be. And I think sometimes that's a really interesting choice and makes for really interesting reading. I will say, I feel like when I first read this, I liked it a lot. I liked it, but it wasn't my favorite, but it stuck with me for so long. I catch myself thinking about this like quite often, I would say, like especially in the winter. And I think that shows how good it is. So I recommend this one, especially if you like dark academia. This is like, you have to read this. Okay, this next one is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, which this is another author I love. If you've read Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil or The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, you must try out her earlier series. They're so good. So this is about Kel, our main character, and he lives in one London. And in this world, there's 4 Londons. There's Red London, Gray London, Black London, and White London. And each one is kind of in like, it's almost like a multiverse. They're all existing at the same time, but like in different dimensions. And each one has been touched by magic differently. One has some, one has none, one has too much. So it's a really interesting dynamic. And Kel is one of the few who can travel between all of the Londons. And so he's used at the palace as kind of the go-between for like government stuff. But he also, on the side, his little side hustle is that he smuggles like trinkets and goods through the Londons as kind of like a glimpse into the other magical realms. And one day when he's in Grey London, which is what we would know as our London, he's pickpocketed by Delilah Bard. And she is such a funny character. I love her character so much. But essentially she pickpockets one of his magical tokens and then demands to be transported to his London. And it is just such a good, again, like I think the theme of the video is just interesting magical systems. I just love it. I think, again, it's not something I've really read before, and I love the descriptions of the different Londons. I also love Kel and Delilah. I love their dynamic. I think they're so funny just because they're kind of made to be kind of opposites in a way. Like Kel is a little bit more stuffy and a little bit more serious, and Delilah is just totally a firecracker and totally like a breath of fresh air probably for Kel. So I love this one, and like I said, if you've read some of her newer works, I think you'll really like this one. And it really provides that perfect like dreary London winter setting. This is the perfect book to read when it's kind of cold and gray outside. This next one is a kind of rom-com mystery and set around Christmas. So this is so cozy and so cute. It's called The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Allie Carter, and this one was so fun. I think I need more mystery romances. I don't know if I've read any other ones, and I think it just was the perfect mix of like my interests. But this one was really cute. It's about two authors who are kind of rivals in a way. They both kind of just think that the other person hates the other person, but neither of them do. It's like classic miscommunication. But they both get invited to this other author's house that they both love, who is essentially the Agatha Christie of this fictional world. She writes a ton of mysteries, and she's like famous for that. And they both get invited to her house for Christmas, not knowing that the other person is going. And they show up, and they're like a little peeved, but they, are happy to be there. And then when everyone's in this author's beautiful manor trying to enjoy the Christmas, she goes missing. And so our two main characters have to work together to try to figure out the mystery and like where she went and if she's okay. So it's a very Agatha Christie kind of themed vibe here, but I think that's perfect for the winter to have like a little cozy mystery that is not too much brain power. It is still a romance, so it's a little bit lighter and just fun and really cute and sweet. So I highly recommend this. I think you can probably get through it in one day, and it is the perfect book to read with a little cup of hot chocolate. So that concludes my winter recommendations. I hope that if you love winter, you found a few new books to add to your TBR, and if you hate winter, that maybe these books will kind of transport you somewhere else for a little while. And with that being said, thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.